Here we leave today and enter a world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. These words, spoken by Walt Disney himself, awake my soul every time that I see them. Just as you walk through the gate right before Main Street America opens up, you can feel complete and utter joy, happiness, and dare I say it, pleasure. Now, let's take those feelings one step further. Imagine now experiencing those same emotions as you watch your child walk down Main Street for the very first time. Imagine the sounds of the rides happening around you, the smell of the food, churros, the sounds of laughter that are taking place amongst the families around you. But don't miss out on the best opportunity, which is looking at your little's face as they are taking this all in. Their eyes wide open, smile from ear to ear. Their giggles. There's nothing more overwhelming than the joy, rather pleasure, that comes from seeing your child experience something so magical. Believe me, I know, because I've experienced it. The first time I went to Disneyland, I was 6 years old. I honestly don't remember a great deal about that trip, but I love hearing the stories that my family tells about that particular trip. They've created these stories in my mind that I can create to try to hold on to those moments that happened. I wouldn't go to Disneyland again until I was 20 years old with my then boyfriend, now husband. We had a great time. We could ride whatever rides we wanted. We could eat whatever we wanted, take as many goofy pictures as we wanted. But one thought continued to run through my head, which was, I cannot wait until I have children of my own to bring to Disney. And then it would happen. When my son turned 18 months old, we took him to Disneyland for the very first time. I remember the outfit that he wore. I remember the look on his face. I remember the moment of him holding his dad's hand as he walked down Main Street for the first time. There was nothing like it. I can't even explain ultimately what that felt like. But that wouldn't be the only time that I got to experience that. We would then take my daughter 2 years later when she was roughly 20 months old. Same experiences, walking behind her as she held her dad's hand as she walked down Main Street. While it was a completely different time, the feelings remain the same. I just truly believe that we as parents or future parents are denying ourselves of that pleasure of a family trip to Disneyland and what it will do for our family relationships because we're afraid. We're afraid that they won't hold those same memories. But they will, whether they experience it with you or through the stories that you tell, whether it's in their brain beforehand or they've created the memory, it's there. So I want to kind of discuss with you what the pleasure of a family trip to Disneyland can do for your family relationships, what it does for your body and for your health, and what it does for your life reflection. Let's look at pleasure. What is pleasure? Is pleasure just a basic need for food, for sleep, for physical intimacy? No. Pleasure is more than just a primal desire. Pleasure is the state or feeling of being pleased. Pleasure is the enjoyment or satisfaction derived from what is to one's liking, gratification, or delight. Pleasure is a worldly or frivolous enjoyment. What different areas in our lives can bring us pleasure? Can you remember the last time that you wanted to go somewhere so desperately that when it finally happened, your body radiated with joy or pleasure? In an article entitled "The Science Behind Pleasure Seeking," Dr. Gregory Burns states, you have to take risks, I think, to really experience pleasure. He talks about people's need to watch horror movies, to ride roller coasters, to eat hot peppers. It's a way for humankind to seek out pleasurable experiences in their lives. And it is so important, but it specifically hits on the idea that this need for a pleasurable experience is what makes those first experiences the best. So what does pleasure do for your health? Why do we even need pleasure? Will our life's pleasures come from the same source? Probably not. We may find pleasure from a variety of sources, But one thing remains true. Taking your children to Disneyland brings forth a complete feeling of pleasure that no other place can recreate. This is called the science behind Disney. So why do people love Disney so much? Well, as Todd Martin explains, we are not simply spectators. We're players exploring a world that has been crafted by master designers while concocting our own stories. He wrote this in an article for the LA Times called A Disney Addict's Quest to Discover Why He Loves the Park So Much. It was a great article. I also found that Hugh Hiker wrote in 2015 that as commercial as Disney is, there is very little that is inauthentic about Disneyland. I think it's the key to its success that Disneyland feels like it was created for your happiness while you are there. On a blog entitled Oh My Disney, there's contributors of people that will write their experience after they've gone. And Amelia Wiedmeyer writes, to fully understand why people love Disneyland, you have to appreciate the fact that each individual experience and connection to the park is unique. So what does pleasure do for our health? Well, the benefits of feeling more joy, as stated by Carrie Murphy in The Effects of Joy on Your Body, is that it promotes a healthier lifestyle. It boosts your immune system, it fights stress and pain, and it supports longevity. Focusing on the things that make you happy will not only improve your life, it may help extend it too. That was written by Daisy Cole. So now it's time to seek. Do family vacations provide pleasure for us? They are so important in building lasting memories with our children. They benefit us with memories, and those memories build our relationships with our children, as well as their relationship with us. The first important value that travel provides for your children is that it teaches them how important they are to you. This was written by Rabbi Stephen Carr Rubin. He holds a PhD. He says, even if your children are very young, they can still be a part of this entire experience. Allow them to be a part of the planning process. It gives them self-worth. Encourage them to help you with the planning. Watch YouTube videos of rides that they may go on. Talk to them about the characters they want to meet. Make them a part of it. But mostly take your children to Disneyland. Don't worry about if they're old enough, whether or not they'll remember it. Allow yourself to be what builds their memories. Allow yourself to remember the first experience you had when you first traveled there. The sights, the sounds, the smells, the warmth you felt, share that. Laughter is timeless. Imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. Again, words spoken by Walt Disney to remind us that we have the ability in this life to create these pockets of pleasure or joy or happiness, whatever you want to call it. It is within our control to seize every moment and opportunity to give our children these important memories in their lives. It is time to stop worrying about if they are too young or too old. It's time just to start living. Don't waste any more time in your life not experiencing the pleasure of taking your children to Disneyland. Do it because pleasure is important for us to achieve. It is important for us to separate our day-to-day lives from the moments that will bring us that pleasure. Our bodies need this emotion. Our health needs to be restored. Our emotions need to be sparked. And we need to bring the smile back to our faces. The only thought you should be left with is how to get started. And Walt Disney said it best when he said, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. It's time that we follow this example and keep moving forward.